Is Dr. Brenner the real hero of Stranger Things? One of the most dangerous and cruel characters in the series Stranger Things is Dr. Martin Brenner. He didn't hesitate to experiment on women and children without measuring the consequences. But as well as Brenner showed incomparable cruelty, he could keep a big secret. What would you think if I told you that Brenner really is a hero, and everything he has done is to save the world? If you like the theories, news, and everything related to the universe of Stranger Things, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We will be uploading videos every day here in Stranger Things Geeks. The story of Dr. Brenner is obscure and full of mysteries. Officially, he works for the United States Department of Energy, but we can deduce that he's a scientist who works for different fields of secret intelligence of the government. If this theory is true, at some point in his youth, Dr. Brenner discovered that there was an imminent danger to humans, perhaps another dimension that was inhabited by monsters. This leads him on a mission to create people capable of facing these monsters. Brenner, along with some co-workers, began work on the MK-Ultra project, which would take Terry, Eleven's mother, as a study subject.
Oh. Mama? It's me. Jane?
Breathe. Sunflower. Rainbow. 450. Breathe. Sunflower.
They first used intelligent college students and showed potential. The cruel experiments began on women and men, but discovered that there was limited power that could be cultivated in an adult person. They decided then to start experimenting with the children of these subjects. 11 is one of those second-generation children subjected to experimentation. The results of these experiments were incredible. There were children capable of generating visions in people. Others had premonitions of the future, and in the case of 11, she had the ability of telekinesis and psychokinetic, which not only allowed her to move things in the air using her mind. Officially, the government stopped the MK-Ultra project because Terry began to attack the scientists publicly and accused them of having kidnapped her daughter Jane, something they never accepted. And even though officially the project concluded, behind the scenes they would continue experimenting and preparing this new generation of children with almost supernatural powers. Brenner saw 11 as the perfect subject to develop these abilities. For that reason, he never gave her back to her mother. If this theory is true, this would be the reason why Brenner was so cruel with 11, because he wanted her to use her powers to the maximum level, and that she could see the threat that was coming to the world. He began to put 11 in a sensory deprivation tank, where he could manipulate her emotions and the waves of her brain, allowing him to increase 11's mental power. During one of the sessions, while 11 was spying on a politician of an enemy country, she began to perceive a Demogorgon. This made a mental bridge between 11 and the creatures of the Upside Down. Now these creatures knew the existence of our planet and decided to invade it. It's here where Will disappears, and Brenner tries to hide him because Brenner believes he can stop the invasion. If the theory that Brenner already knew that there was a threat is correct, it means that he saw the invasion as something inevitable, and he needed to somehow stop it at any cost, even if this meant experimenting in a very cruel way with people. The dimensional bridge is created in Hawkins, but 11 escapes. This means that Brenner tried to strike the first blow in this new dimensional war. but his strongest soldier ended up escaping. This is why the scientists during the first season look for 11 so desperately, because they know what is coming, and they need her to be ready to face this threat. The bridge to the Upside Down was getting bigger, and the threat reached the point that one of these creatures began to attack humans. Brenner couldn't do anything to stop it, and finally one of these creatures apparently takes his life, even though we didn't really see him die on the screen. Of course, Brenner had a plan B, and he wouldn't lose his life so easily. Ray Carroll, one of Brenner's henchmen, confessed to 11, and Kali, another girl who was also part of Brenner's experiment, that Brenner was still alive.
All this time, and you haven't looked for me. Why? Because you thought I was dead? Or because you were afraid of what you might find?
Go away.
You have to confront your pain. You have a wound, 11. A terrible wound. And it's festering. Do you remember what that means?
Which means that Brenner could still be working on his experiments to endow children with abilities to keep our world safe. Now, if this theory of Brenner's benevolence is true, it means that we will see him again, this time on the side of 11. We explained in a previous video that only one person can give back the powers to 11, and this is Dr. Martin Brenner, who could confess to 11 that he always knew about the existence of the Upside Down, and that he prepared her and other children to face the threat. He could also be responsible for letting 11 know that Hopper is alive. This would completely change the dynamics of the story, and even justify the actions of Brenner, a former enemy who really worked to help humanity, who sacrificed some people because he wanted to save the world. If this theory is true, Brenner has created the most powerful defense weapon in the world, which has already defeated the Demogorgon several times and could be the key to the destruction of the Mind Flayer forever. And this is 11. If this was a correct theory and Brenner is really fighting to prevent the Mind Flayer invasion, would we now consider him a hero? What would you do in his situation? If you found out that our planet will be invaded and the only solution is to experiment with humans, create super soldiers, and thus prevent the invasion, would you do it? And if you want to see more videos about the universe of Stranger Things, subscribe to the channel. You're watching Stranger Things Geeks.